on to our next story. For those of you that did see the Oscars, I didn't. I don't watch the Oscars. I don't watch award shows. But there was a speech from Jonathan Glazer at the Oscars that has sort of gone viral on social media. And this does have to deal with Israel and Gaza as well. I want to play the speech for you. And then there's something I want to point out that is not mentioned in this speech. And I'm not sure if people noticed this. And then I'm going to show you the criticism that Jonathan Glazer is getting, of course, from Zionists, so as to be expected. But first and foremost, let's get to this speech here. So Jonathan Glazer actually did win for his movie at the Oscars. And this was the speech here that went viral. Here we go.
Thank you to the Academy for this honor, and to our partners A24, Film for Access, and the Polish Film Institute, to the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum for their trust and guidance, to my producers, actors, collaborators. All our choices were made to reflect and confront us in the present, not to say, look what they did then, rather look what we do now. Our film shows where dehumanization leads at its worst. It shaped all of our past and present. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people. Whether the victims of October...
So first and foremost, notice the applause, right? It's not like it's 2 or 3 people clapping.
Whether the victims of October the 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack on Gaza, all are victims of this dehumanization. How do we resist? Alexandra Bistron Koladziejczak, the girl who glows in the film as she did in life, chose to. I dedicate this to her memory and her resistance. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the speech from Jonathan Glazer, right? So I don't know if you guys noticed, but it looked like he was a little bit nervous there. Like his hands looked like they were shaking a little bit. I'm not sure if he was just nervous because he won or because he was also nervous because of what he was about to say in reference to Gaza, right? So, of course, you know, Zionists have been heavily attacking Jonathan Glazer. Before we get into those attacks, there's something I noticed about that speech that I did want to point out. Now, I would say I applaud Jonathan for what he said there. I applaud him for actually saying that speech at the Oscars, of all places, right? I mean, you're right there in front of the entertainment industry and making the statement that he made. So I definitely applaud him for making that statement. However, the way that he has been attacked by Zionists over a speech that actually gave mild criticism. Because if you notice, Jonathan never said or mentioned genocide in that speech. How many people noticed that? Notice he never said that there was a genocide happening. And he is being attacked as though his speech was extremely radical, which it wasn't. I felt like he gave criticism, but I felt like it was mild criticism compared to what he could say. But he has been attacked heavily. Now, Mark Ruffalo, he had some things to say as well, and I'll show you the things that people said and what they did about Jonathan Glazer. Mark Ruffalo also had a statement that he made, and this is outside before the show, continuing to support ceasefire. Mark Ruffalo, he goes back and forth. Like sometimes I've seen him before on Twitter, stand on an issue, and then when he receives pressure, he'll back down. But I haven't seen him back down on this issue.
Tell us what the badges mean.
This is a peace lily, and this is a emblem for Artists for Ceasefire, which is calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. There's 1,200 Israelis dead and 2,700 Palestinians. We've come to understand this bombing isn't working. We're not going to bomb our way to peace. And all we're saying is, what's wrong with giving a ceasefire a chance? We have 1 million refugees on the border of Rafah right now who are looking at another bombing surge. And we have 400,000 people starving to death right now without any humanitarian aid being able to get in there. So we're asking the leaders of the world, especially President Biden, to demand a ceasefire, a lasting ceasefire, and give peace a chance instead of just the continued bombing, the escalation of violence, and what will soon become a regional war that America will be dragged into.
So again, even with Mark Ruffalo, notice his criticism was fairly mild, because none of these people so far are asking for the end of the occupation, a one-state solution where Palestinian people have equal rights under the law, the same as Jewish people do, right? Let me show you what mainstream media decided to do. So first of all, Variety, this was the first one that I saw that tried to basically smear what he said. And shout out to Avi who posted this. At Variety should really correct this. This is not at all what Jonathan Glazer said. It's missing some key words. So it says here, Jonathan Glazer, director of the Best International Feature winner, The Zone of Interest, a drama set in Auschwitz, used his time at the podium to speak out about the violence in the Middle East and to draw parallels with the message of his searing look at the Holocaust. Our film shows where dehumanization leads. It shaped all of our past and present. And this is the piece here that they highlighted. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness. That was not what he said. And instantly, Variety was quick to publish it, right? Whether the victims of October 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack on Gaza, all the victims of this dehumanization, how do we resist? So people were calling for Variety to fix it. And David actually shared this and said, now Variety has updated to include the full Glazer quote, which says it here. It shaped all of our past and present. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and their Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people. Whether the victims of October 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack on Gaza, all the victims of this dehumanization, how do we resist? So context is important to hear the rest of that, right? The context is important, but it didn't stop there. Batya, and she's a Zionist, Batya decided to attack Jonathan Glazer as well. And Community Notes had to come in and check her. This is just hilarious, guys. I simply cannot fathom the moral rot in someone's soul that leads them to win an award for a movie about the Holocaust, and with the platform given to them to accept that award by saying, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness. So do you see how that Zionist network works? All it took was boom, Variety publishes that statement, Batya repeats it, and they just pass it on through the network. We've talked about this before with Miko Peled. This is how this works. They have their own PR network. So they just pass it on to each other. And next thing you know, all of them are tweeting the same exact thing, which was false. So Community Notes actually corrected her and said, this quote has been shortened and displayed out of context. And then it provides the full statement there. So do you guys see how... Boy, I tell you, doesn't stop with Batya though. Noah Tishby, another Zionist, right? She made that cringe video with Chelsea. What's the girl's name? Chelsea, she's a comedian, blonde hair, Chelsea Handler. Yes, made that cringe video with Chelsea Handler, right? She chimes in, tonight's Oscars was a subtle and overt display of Jew hatred. highlight. Let's say this again. Tonight's Oscars was a subtle and overt display of Jew hatred. Two things. First of all, that's a lie. It was not about hating Jewish people at all. And two, how is it subtle and overt at the same time? These are opposites. Like, these are completely opposites. You see how people just say just anything. Hollywood stars, including Billie Eilish, Finesse, Mark Ruffalo, Ava DuVernay, Rami Youssef, Kina Chasing Horse, some of these people I'm not familiar with at all, were red pins that represent the group Artists for Ceasefire. Rami Youssef explained the pin symbolized justice for the people of Palestine, adding, it's a universal message of just let's stop killing kids. Notably absent were the yellow pins representing the hostages kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th. See how she tried to make this about? See, let me tell you something. This is what they continue to do. This is another part of the Zionist playbook. If you are appreciating the suffering of one group, but you're not appreciating or trying to actually not appreciate, if you're not acknowledging the suffering of one group, but you're not acknowledging the suffering that they're saying happened to the state of Israel, they call this a problem. This is also the reason why they had a problem with the DEI. I told you before, when it came to Bill Ackman, it wasn't even really about the plagiarism. Hell, his own wife got caught with plagiarism. It wasn't about that. It was the fact that there was something that did not include them. Not everybody has this belief. You have to remember that Zionists can be Christians as well. I would argue they're probably more Christian Zionists than Jewish Zionists, right? All right. So she goes on to say, it was Hamas who barbarically, again, they all use the same words, who barbarically attacked Israel, breaking the ceasefire on October 7th. Since then, Hamas has consistently rejected numerous ceasefire proposals. Okay. Israel has rejected ceasefire proposals. Everything that they claim that the Palestinian people, that Hamas is doing, these are things that they're actually doing. Hamas is not interested in a ceasefire. They proposed one like 2 weeks ago. Israel rejected it. Israel continues to lie and lie and lie. It is interested in murdering Jews and sacrificing Palestinians, as if you care. First of all, this isn't true. And two, as if you cared if Palestinians were sacrificed at all. You don't want them there anyway. If these artists cared so much about a ceasefire, they'd be applying pressure on Hamas rather than attacking Israel. No. At its mildest, this is subconscious anti-Semitism. At its worst, deliberate attacks against Jews. Okay. So again, how is it subconscious and deliberate at the same time? She's just throwing words together. Either way, it's appalling and needs to be addressed. We cannot allow Hollywood celebrities to be manipulated into furthering Hamas' hateful agenda around the world. So you know what that means? That's the PR signal. That's the Zionist PR signal. Let me all go ahead and contact people that work in that industry and put an end to this. Start removing these actors that made these statements from any deals or contracts that they have. This is what they do. They'll go after your entire career and try to end you. She's all over the place. Katie Halper stepped in to make some adjustments here where people were not telling the truth. Katie said they didn't refute their Jewishness. They refute their Jewishness in a Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people, which is precisely what you're doing by misquoting them. By the way, they don't like this. So Katie's tweet received 19,000 likes. They don't like when someone else who is also Jewish comes in and corrects them. Don't like that, honey. Boots Riley also came in. BS. This here journalist who writes for Newsweek is being boldly dishonest. He didn't refute his Jewishness. Glazer said, we refute our Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people. Boots Riley. There is a film by Boots Riley called Sorry Not to Bother You. Sorry for Bothering You. Sorry for Bothering You. Something like that. Anyway, it was really good. It was really good. So Israel has lost the propaganda machine. The fact that Jonathan Glazer could have that speech at the Oscars and you hear a lot of people clapping, not like 2 or 3, and they don't know what to do. They can't take it.